hopefully everybody can see the screen now.
Yes.
Okay. So I say here best events for 2023 in North America. By best in this case, I mean, I guess I would say most likely to be observed. So this is considering factors like you want a very high certainty in the location of the path. You want the star to be bright. I think all these are brighter than Mag 10. And you want no issues with star position. In our case, since most of these positions are all coming from Gaia, we would want it to be the case that the RUWE value is relatively low. There's no other, no duplicated source flag for it, and no entries in the double star catalog indicate that it's part of a double star system. So these all should be relatively likely to be observed. There's one exception towards the end, which I'll mention to that rule, but here we go. So long list here, and I'll walk through these quickly. So first one, these are all by time, March 4th. So we've got this one with pretty good across the entire US in the spring. And I think these are all relatively, well, none of these are very short events either, which also helps make them easier to observe. So another one with the same asteroid, Kava. A little bit later in March, a few days later, Elpis, going to the eastern United States and Canada. Another one across the US towards the end of March. Johanna, Western US, and late August, where the prospect should be reasonable then if the southwest monsoon is slowed down by then. Dalia, southeastern US and Mexico. Berberissia, Canada, US, Mexico. Southeast US, southwestern US as well. So I guess you kind of get a little bit of depth forward with this one. Interamnia, large asteroid. Obviously the past certainty on this is pretty good. Western US, so mid-September should be a good timing on this one. Then we have the Eastern US for Victoria in November. Another November event with Amelia, Florida, South Texas, and Mexico. Apollonia, California, southwestern, all the way through the southwest US. Leona, this is Betelgeuse. It's going to be an interesting event. It'll be, you know, it's an annular event. Betelgeuse itself is about 48 million arc seconds in diameter, and the star is supposed to be about, the asteroid is supposed to be about 46 million arc seconds in diameter, so pretty close to the same diameter. It'll be kind of interesting event to see what happens. I've got a note here, we're kind of reviewing the position for Betelgeuse. There was some data to say that it may have some small companions, which potentially could offset the position of the main star, but it's not certain that those reported potential companions are believable or not. So we're kind of looking at that, kind of reviewing the question of what we might really trust for the position of Betelgeuse. But this, at the moment, is the most likely path. Unfortunately, quite a bit over the water, other than in Europe. Europe has, this is a good event for Europe. All your European observers looking at this. This path should be posted up there, but we'll certainly get it posted on asteroidoccultation.com soon. It may have an early path that was offset to the north, but through southern Portugal and Spain and through southern Europe in general should be a very good event, but although it is in December, so probably Spain would be a better place to observe. But, so an interesting event.
Steve,
Yes.
could maybe you get us a grant that we could all travel to the Florida Keys to observe this one?
Yeah, the Keys, or it looks like maybe the Bahamas a little bit there, right?
There you go.
Either one of those would be great.
All those would be good in December anyway. I think that's called a vacation, right? So, and then this event here, Ashfeldia, all the way across the US, another good event, magnitude 7 star, 7.6. So, and that's the last of these events. So there you go. It's a quick trip through them. We'll have these posted on the meeting website relatively soon, so you can pull them down from there if you're interested in checking these out.
Steve, will Betelgeuse be totally occulted?
Well, very close. I guess it's kind of an interesting question. It depends on, I don't know about the shape of Elpis. if Elpis is relatively circular, it's supposed to be 46 milliarc seconds in diameter, pretty close to diameter of, so it's going to be close, whether it would be fully occulted, but they're both about the same size in theory. So there's some
This gets
measurement
a bit-
diameter issues there. Dave can talk about this a little bit more probably.
This becomes a little bit complex. I don't think there's a shape model. No, there is no shape model available for the asteroid. You've got uncertainties in what the diameter of the asteroid is. But then for Betelgeuse, you also have the issue that the disk is not of uniform brightness. It's got serious limb darkening. So the light curve that you're going to get out of this is going to be seriously complex. For an annular event, which is nominally what it is, you'd expect it to be a gradual change on both sides with a very small flat bottom if you're on a short flat bottom if you're on the center line. If you're a bit away from the center line, you'll just have gradual drops. Now, one of the problems of the prediction is the diameter of Betelgeuse, as measured by different techniques, different measurements of it, varies fairly significantly in the context of the precision we're after. And one of the outputs of this observation would be an accurate measurement of the diameter of Betelgeuse on the date of the observation. Don't forget that we've had the magnitude of Betelgeuse changed, went through a drop over the last few years, and I think it's re-brightened. And there's interesting questions about what's going on with that star. So it's, for that point, it's a fairly significant observation where you need decent quality photometric light curves. Time is not so critical. And the other thing about this event, it's a naked eye event, wide path, and particularly in Europe, and I see we've got a few European things, this has got to be an ideal opportunity to promote what we do to the masses, to encourage the public to go out at the right time and look at Betelgeuse, because a heap of number of people will know it, and look for the occultation with the naked eye. And somebody's got their microphone on with noise. Look at the observation of the star with the naked eye, and perhaps do a program of asking people to report whether they saw a dimming or not of the star. And by that way, you may be able to use citizen scientists to actually measure or determine the location of the edges of the path. It's something to think about in terms of public engagement and promoting what we do.
Isn't Betelgeuse also surrounded by a dust cloud, something like that? Isn't that what produced the dimming recently?
That's what it has been attributed to. No, one of the things that
This should help in defining some of that.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that interests me is that there is some controversy about whether Betelgeuse has a couple of companions, and different astronomers have argued about that. And I would think that if Betelgeuse is completely occulted, that gives you, especially if you have more than one chord with complete occultation, it would help people discern whether there might be a companion star hiding in the brightness of Betelgeuse. So just a lot of things like that are related to this. And it's the kind of thing where you want a whole bunch of observations, and then you want to send them to a professional astronomer group to sort of iron out what it means.
Can I make a comment on this double star issue with Betelgeuse? There was a paper in 1982 or 89 where a couple of people claimed the presence of two very close companions. One was 0.05 seconds apart, and a bit wider. And that's where all the thoughts are of very close companions. In about 2006, There's a paper, Brian Mason from USNO was one of the observers using rather more modern speckle interferometry, and they could find no evidence for those close companions. And I place greater weight on that. One of the problems with the WDS system is you put in a claim for a star being a double, like having a companion. It's damn difficult to get such claims removed. So you put in a spurious claim which is wrong, it sits there forever. And that's an issue which would be interesting to see whether or not there are companions, but I wouldn't expect it myself.
Recent articles of credible sources, with the analysis over the several years from Hubble and all, attribute this dimming recently to what they call a surface mass ejection, as opposed to a coronal mass ejection we see all the time in the sun, except 400 billion times larger in magnitude.
Of course, the detectability of a double star depends on its distance from the primary. And since that is inherently changing in a orbit, it's really hard to say that a subsequent observation is definitive. So I would just point out that this is still something that that needs needs science. We need to get some data.
Is there a sense of the uncertainty in its position?
We're using the UBAD catalogue. It's a very recent catalogue for the position of Betelgeuse. The real problem with these faint companions is what is their, if they do exist, what is the effect of those companions on the position of the primary star? Because the position of the star will be based on the photocenter, which will be a portion between the bright star and the light from the fainter stars, which are about 3 magnitudes fainter, supposedly. So if those stars are present, the problem is that the occultation path will be moved by some amount, by some indeterminate amount.
Okay, well, thank you